Welcome back. Episode 2 of Fresh Out of College. I'm Drew. With me is Ryota.
Yeah, so today we're going to start with Kyrie starting a new league, question mark. And then we move on to some of the sports leagues coming back, including the WNBA, NWSL, and MLS. We then move on to Chuba Hubbard and Mike Gundy, social media conflict there. And then we finish off with technology and sports, particularly soccer and what happened in the EPL a couple of days ago, and then as well as MLB umpires. So
Sweet.
Enjoy the show.
Welcome back, guys. Thanks for joining in again. I'm your host, Drew Campbell. This is Ryota over here. We're back for another Fresh Out of College. So let's just jump into it. The first segment we're going to do is a new one that we conjured up called Imagine That. Ryota, do you want to take us through what that entails?
I think the whole kind of our intention with Imagine That was we want it to be like a funny segment, maybe, somebody says a controversial thing or some hypothetical that we would probably won't see ever. And today's topic is Kyrie Irving's recent statements.
Yeah, so we're gonna have some fun with it. We're gonna talk prospectively, and then we're gonna go into like what we think could happen if he's gonna start a new league, because that's like the big thing in the news right now is Kyrie Irving wants the players to form their own NBA league and not have the owners in it. So we're gonna talk logistics, but we're also gonna kind of create and makeshift the league. So Ryota, do you think this is feasible? Do you think NBA players can make their own league?
I don't know. Like, I was just thinking in general terms and how, things are changing in sports. Like, I think it's actually very feasible in the near future because, you start to see players not hire agents and be their own agents.
Mm-hmm.
That's like one step of, trying to get rid of this, I don't know, sports hierarchy. Or I think obviously Kyrie has really good intentions. I think he understands that, there's systemic racism, and maybe the only way to end it is to start his own thing. And I think right now it seems very radical, but I think in the future it's very possible.
Yeah. I just think there's a lot, personally, I don't think it's feasible. I just think there's a lot that goes into creating your own league. Just the money aspect. I mean, the owners do pay for a lot of it. They pay for the salaries, they pay for the personnel, and then they also pay for the stadiums. I don't know. There's a lot of money that goes into it, but I think he does have a point that players do make. That's what the fans want. The fans want, and it's not necessarily the owners, but they do have that financial. Some of them are billionaires, so they can have that. And then most of these NBA players are millionaires. Not to dock any millionaires, but there is a lot of money that goes into this. I know, being avid Supersonic fans, we want an NBA team badly, right? But we've had to wait just because real estate is a lot of money. And knowing that, I don't think owners will necessarily give up that real estate for to NBA players, because they are going to lose out a lot of money.
Well,
but,
go ahead. I think, I don't know, what I'm imagining is Irving's not trying to take over the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
I think what he's imagining, he wants to create an alternate league where maybe money is not an issue. Because I think one of the issues I think from a Kyrie perspective, he could probably think the issue of having a player union and the league. Why can't you just make that all into one? I think that's kind of what he sees as one conflict. That's one reason.
I do think it is a money thing, though, at the very end of the day, because some of these players right now will get too old and have to retire, and then there'll be a next wave of players.
But
then
do you think Kyrie wants to make a new league to make more money? I don't think that's the reason.
No. Well, I'm just saying, how are they gonna support that for the new players coming up that are looking for?
I think just like any league that you create, you just need to hire some businessmen to do the sponsorships, to do streaming, because I don't think like Kyrie is imagining like literally creating a 30-team league. Maybe he just wants to start small, like the big three, the Ice Cube League. Like that's only like
Hmm.
5 teams. Maybe it wasn't quite as successful, but if Kyrie can, maybe he won't be playing in this league that he imagines he creates, but if he creates a league with 7 teams with the best superstars,
Yeah, but how are
if
you
you
going to
create
get those
enough.
superstars? That's the thing. How are
Well,
you going to get?
Kyrie's. I mean, I wouldn't say he's the most respected person in the league, but like if he really pushes for this movement and sees the NBA still being very problematic, I mean, we continue to see more whistleblowing of issues of racism and injustice, and if we continue to see that, players might just start to give in and say, "Yes, screw the system." Like how
Yeah,
like we're talking about screwing the system. How many players have decided not to play in the NCAA and go abroad?
that's true. That is
LaMelo.
true. But
What's the other guy?
but why?
Hampton.
But why? Because they think they want money. I mean, obviously,
Well, yeah,
a big
that's
issue
definitely
is
true.
the money.
But okay,
So
that
what
makes
what happens
sense.
if um obviously I'm not an NBA player, but let's just take an NBA player
Hmm.
prospectively. He has a high ceiling. Let's say he's the next LeBron James. Um, but he
Zion.
is Zion. No, but so he wants to play in NBA with the best players.
Hmm.
And then he also wants to get paid for his talents. I know, because he's been working on his game. He deserves it. He believes
Hmm.
it.
But let me argue
Um,
this: you
okay.
might make more money if you're paying less executives.
Yes, but
See, that's what
let
I
me let
think.
me let me
Okay,
riddle you this
sorry,
then.
continue.
What? So okay. So you don't have any executives, right?
Hmm.
But those executives, I say, play an integral part in getting you those sponsorships, getting you those TV deals.
Right.
And then so then the players don't have to focus on that, can focus on their game. And then they'll become the best players possible with also being the best humans.
Hmm.
And they can advocate and they can become superstars. And then
Hmm.
those owners will have to pay the NBA players because of the talent and how much money they bring in. Because at the end of the day, NBA players and NFL players and MLS player, any professional player brings in the money. The owners do not do anything that, but they facilitate that. Um, but yes, I do agree with you that the players are the ones that keep fans
Hmm.
interested and are the main source of revenue. And I believe they should get paid that. I don't know if Kyrie Irving I don't think Kyrie Irving's intention fully was to start a new league. I think he just wanted to bring to light the aspect that we can do this. I just don't think in the long term players will boycott the NBA enough, boycott a salary enough to start a new league, especially the new guys coming up. I think they envision what they get in the money, and I
Hmm.
think right now having owners pay that and kind of delegate that side of the business um, is the best.
Hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. It's very interesting. I kind of have something here. If I were to kind of be in Kyrie's position, we're kind of thinking about like what we could do financially. I would probably pay all my money, the majority, 80% of the money goes to the players, and then I would try and like do some workarounds. So for my concessions, because
Hmm.
you have to get fans in, um, I would sell cotton candy because that only takes like 13 cents per serving. So I would make a killing
Oh,
off
you
of
really
that,
did
and I
some
would probably
research on this.
well, of course, it's hypotheticals. Imagine that. Um, yeah, cotton candies. I can buy that for 13 cents. I'll probably stock that up, sell it for $5. Shaved ice.
Probably sell it for more.
You think? Yeah, I probably could actually. Shaved ice only costs 30 cents. So how much do you think I could sell my shaved ice for?
Probably 750.
750. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Okay, yeah, 750.
Shaved ice is not very like it's pretty low in supply, I feel like, in most
It
places.
is. It only costs 30 cents. So
Yeah, it's just water and syrup.
exactly. And then popcorn. You have to have popcorn.
Hmm.
So that's 26 cents. And then I would buy the cheapest popcorn machine, which is probably like $200. And then I could sell that for like $11 if I wanted to.
Mm.
And then funnel cakes. Funnel cakes only cost 54 cents to make. and those are fun. And then I would have everybody drink out of the water fountain, just to save money there. But then, so right, I have my concessions down. Aspect one, paying personnel. Have you seen? I bet you've seen Jackie Moon,
Mm-hmm.
the Will Ferrell movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have Kyrie, like you said, I would have him be the GM, try and get as many people in there, and then I would be the owner, and I would do absolutely nothing. So I would just have him just play basketball, be the facilitator. I'd pay him all the money. I would get no money in return. I just want to see him. I just want to have basketball back. So
See, but
I would
wouldn't
get.
that be a cool process if you thought
It would
about
be.
owners being nonprofits,
Yeah,
like
it would be. I
operating as
mean, they
non?
do have a lot of money, so it's that.
Yeah, because like actually, I don't know how much owners make from owning a team, but like that could be part of Kyrie's argument. Because if you really want to
Yeah,
own a team, you should do it for the fun of the sport rather than the money, right?
that's true. I mean, I would do it just because I'm a huge fan, but I don't know financially if that's like feasible because
Yeah.
I didn't even think about like the stadiums and like paying everybody
Hmm.
else. I'm just doing literally like two of like 30 things that I need to do.
Yeah, that's true.
But as an owner, I would just watch. I would tell Kyrie, get me into all the games, and then it'd be good. I'd be perfectly fine. I would have him make all the him take home all the money, and then yeah, the fans would be happy with their shaved ice and popcorn. But yeah, so imagine that final standing on it. I do think it's going to be tough. I don't know if Kyrie um, will go through with it, but I mean, if he does make something like this, I fully support him.
I think
And I
another
think it'd be
thing
cool to have a rival. Uh,
I think another thing about social media is they kind of blew it over, or they
yeah,
really exaggerated. I was reading the news again. It said like, Irving like kind of mentioned it, and it wasn't necessarily a response to the NBA's like proposal to Orlando. It was kind of like just a thought that he. It was with his teammates too, so it wasn't the whole league. So I think just something for people to understand too.
yeah,
And like
that
I
is
think
interesting.
Kyrie has good intentions. That's the most
Oh, of
important part.
course. Yeah. No, I do think so.
But
I do think so. But what do you think about that getting leaked? I think it was like you said, it was from a team
yeah, I didn't look
conversation.
into how that came out, but I mean, right now anything comes out. And did you hear about they're gonna make like a hotline in Orlando to like call if you see someone like breaking quarantine rules?
Oh,
See
really?
that?
I did not hear that. I heard
I
about
think
all the cool things they're gonna get in
yeah,
Orlando.
so yeah, they're getting some nice amenities. But have you ever watched the Little League World Series?
Hmm.
That's what it
Yeah.
reminded me of.
Okay.
They get a pool, they get like ping pong tables and a movie theater. That's literally they're taking that model out of the Little League World Series, right? Because all the teams from around the world go to like a hotel or something or like a resort and they have all
That
these
is actually really
amenities.
cool.
That's what it
I did
literally
hear
is.
about, so I heard also, going back to Orlando,
Hmm.
that players will be able to watch other games. So they're not
Yes.
actually confined just to their
Yeah,
hotel room.
which I mean, I think they need to be really careful about that because obviously you need the social distance, but if you see a friend on another team, you're gonna want to go say hi.
Yeah,
And there's gonna be yeah, I don't know how they're gonna, but I think they made that hotline. I read it on Twitter. I'm pretty sure it's real, but um, they said like you can call somebody if you see somebody breaking quarantine. I think
interesting.
that's really important because
Oh yeah, keeping them
not
account. Yeah.
everyone cares about this, and they should.
Hmm.
Um, I
I
still see people like going out right now in like huge groups, and I just shake my head. I'm just like, why? But I think yeah, it's important because they're just going to be there all hanging out. They get to play golf, and you never know what happens. So I think it's important that yeah, they have some sort of accountability there.
It's also interesting that all of these sports that are being restarted are going to Florida. Huge market for
Yeah,
Florida.
I yeah, I should we get into the other sports that are starting
Yeah, let's go for
since
it.
we're already talking about it? Yeah, I looked at a lot of them. A lot of them are I think
Right?
so.
Isn't that
I
crazy?
want to
Because I think Florida was one of the first states, or maybe
Yeah,
it
in
was
Florida, I
Georgia.
don't think in any like it's not like doing that great right now either. I think
Yeah.
they reopened a lot of things and they're getting major spikes, which is problematic. So to start off, the WNBA
Hmm.
is going to be in Florida. They're going to be at the IMG Academy, like the huge sports high school or a middle school preparatory kind of thing. But do you want to talk about what their game and restart looks like?
Yeah. So like you said, they're going to be starting up in the IMG Academy in Florida. Um, they haven't yet released a starting date, but they're in the works on that. The players will be paid 100% prorated salaries
That's good.
if both the regular season and the playoffs are played. Um, I think this is crucial because I believe the MLB sort of had, what if we don't get to this? What if we don't get to that?
Hmm.
And I do think it is a big thing. I mean, we are getting reports that there might be a second wave of the virus coming through. And if that is true, um, you would have to shut down the whole entire league again, I think.
Hmm.
That's the only right thing to do. So
Yes, I agree.
having that in contention with the regular season and playoffs being having to be played, um, I think it's risky, but I'm glad that the players and the owners were able to come to an agreement. Um, and I think everybody just wants to play. So yeah, there'll be a 22 game season compared to the 36 games, and hopefully they're hoping to start in July. They have yet to actually release an announcement, like I said, but yeah, it should be fun. It'll be good to have one sport team back or one sporting event back.
Hmm.
Yeah. And then for the MLS, um, I think the MLS is more geared up for kind of like they have their dates set, I think,
Yeah, yeah.
is what I'm reading about.
Hmm.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe they all arrive in Orlando on June 24th. And I think they start group stage July 8th.
Yeah, I didn't check what time they report, but yeah, I know the season's from July 8th to August 11th, and
Okay.
they're kind of doing, well, they're doing the classic soccer tournament style, right? Where you have like
Right.
groups, and then the top two in each group can make it to the bracket, and then there's kind of like the wild card for some of the third place finishers. Um, then they go to
That's,
the round of 16, and then
yeah. And then a quarterfinal and then semifinals and then the final.
exactly.
Do you think that is I think that's actually really cool. So they're doing more of a group stage, which I think was first proposed to the NBA to kind of do like a group stage thing, sort of similar to the
Mm-hmm.
22 team format.
Mm-hmm.
But it will be interesting because I think more fans will get involved with this just because I think it will feel more like a tournament, like more of a
Mm-hmm.
the um like FIFA World Cup.
Exactly.
Um
This is the World Cup, kind
so
of, yeah,
I'm
style.
excited for it because personally, I'm not a huge soccer fan,
Mm-hmm.
but I think I would get on board with a group stage
Mm-hmm.
and having more. Do you think it'll make it more competitive with the group stage?
I mean, I think so because I mean the MLS season's pretty long.
Hmm.
So like if it's compacted, it's definitely more competitive. I think this goes for the same for the WNBA, right? Even though they lose a third of this season, that's still a lot of games, you know. And they only have 12 teams, so that makes it much more competitive. And yeah, I think watching the World Cup is really fun because you get all these hypotheticals like, oh, this team lost yesterday, this team won. Well, this team needs to draw and this team needs to tie in order like to win to get, you know. So it's kind of
Yeah,
fun. I think it's
that is
interesting,
actually really
and
cool.
our Sounders have a really good chance to make the bracket again. I mean, they're always competitors.
Hmm.
They won last year, the whole thing. I was at that game; it was awesome. But they have a pretty easy, I'd say, easier group they're playing in. So I think
Okay,
they have a really good shot to make the bracket at least for sure.
so do
I'd
you
say
think
like that's.
this
I think that's a lock. That's a lock.
a solid lock, solid lock? I thought it was interesting doing some research on it that the players will be in confinement or not confinement, but um, so they're gonna get their daily meals will be delivered to them at the hotel.
Oh wow, that's
Um,
awesome.
so what happens is they go play a game, they come back to the hotel, and they stay there. They don't. I don't think I didn't research any amenities that they had.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they can go see other games.
Yeah.
But basically, what I'm getting is that they'll have 45 days, and they'll just try and social distance in the
Mm-hmm.
hotels. So that could be another big thing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a lot. That's a long time. 45 days just in a hotel.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think we'll come back to this after we cover more of the leagues and just kind of like what to do with family. And there's a lot of
exactly.
concerns about, from our perspective, it's great sports are coming back, but there's a lot to talk about from a player perspective. We can, act like players later and talk about it. I think that'll be a
Yeah.
good discussion.
You know what I actually found out is that in the WNBA,
Hmm.
I believe WNBA is permitting if a player has played for more than 5 years, a plus one. I
Oh,
don't.
really?
I think. I'd have to fact check it. We have to get our intern on that. I think he is currently not
Yeah,
employed.
he's sick today. He's not in.
But I do think that is we would have to fact check that afterwards and figure that out. But I do think they are allowing a +1 for a player that's been in the league for 5 years.
Gotcha.
I don't know. I think I've read that somewhere. Maybe I was just dreaming that. But yeah. Do you want to move on to golf?
Yeah, well, actually, let's do one more soccer league since I have
Okay.
it open. Well, we have
Oh,
two more soccer leagues, but I want to go to the National Women's Soccer League.
yeah.
I think I definitely want to talk about this in this podcast because they're definitely an underrated league, and I think like the women's soccer's like top talents come play in America, so I think it's really cool to talk about. But they're doing a similar thing. They're doing 25-game tournaments. There's only 9 teams in the league, and then you have to be in the top 8 to make it into the bracket. So they're doing like 4 games for seeding, so kind of like the NBA, and then the top 8 get into the quarterfinal tournament.
wow.
But they're going to be in Utah.
Oh, interesting.
Which is pretty cool. I mean, it'll be really hot, but they're planning on kicking off June 27th, which is really soon. But they've been having team practices, I think, the last couple of weeks. I've seen pictures of the Seattle team, the OL Reign. But one of the cool highlights for them is, so they call it the NWSL Challenge Cup, presented by P&G, Procter & Gamble.
Okay.
But the cup's going to air on CBS, which is the first time professional women's club soccer is on live national broadcast. So that's really cool because the women's World Cup's like on live TV, national, big channels. But it's the first time that this league will be on national broadcast. So that's really good for them. Good milestone.
Yeah, exactly. I think this is a great time for a lot of people to watch some sports that they haven't watched, just because there's no sports going on.
Yeah.
So it's a great opportunity, and I think sportscasts are definitely going for that because they need to fill that void, especially since we don't have the MLB, we don't have the NBA right now. So it's a great chance for a new sport to come out and hopefully take that momentum to the next years moving forward.
Yeah. One cool note about the league too, just kind of like the accommodations they're doing. They reached out to all the players with who have kids to talk about how they can make the tournament good for them too, because again, there are family concerns, because if you're just in one city or state playing all the time, you don't get family time. So I think they really took that into consideration, which is cool. And they allowed players to really get into the conversation, which we apparently didn't see in some of the bigger leagues.
That is true.
Made some players angry. But
so there's only 9 teams in this league?
9
and then
teams,
how many, what's the roster size?
It's a good question. I mean, there's 11 players on the field.
Okay.
And you get like 6 or 7 subs per game. So I'm assuming the roster size is probably, I think 25 sounds about right for soccer.
Okay.
But then like some are not active, like they're on the bench.
It is, yeah. And then so most of these teams do have an opt-out clause if they feel uncomfortable playing. They don't have to play. I know that is for the MLS and WNBA. They made that possible. So it's just great for that. Do you want to talk about the UEFA soccer and their startup?
Yeah. Recently, the Champions League Soccer League, they're going to return in August in Portugal. There's only 8 teams left, so they're pretty far into the tournament already. But you know how they do the first game versus second game aggregate thing. So the competitions, they've already played the first leg, so now they just need to play the second half of the game. So right now it's Juventus versus Lyon, and Lyon is actually up 0-1, which is, I think, kind of a upset right now. Man City versus Real Madrid, 2-1 Man City. Bayern versus Chelsea, 3-0. Barca versus Napoli, 1-1, which is also kind of surprising for some fans.
Yes, you have a Messi jersey in the back.
I do have a Messi jersey in the back. But this year, I still think Bayern Munich, who just won the German league a couple of days ago, or like a week ago, I think they have the best team right now to win the whole thing. So,
what about your team? What about your team?
What do you mean,
Arsenal.
my team?
Arsenal.
Oh, they're not. They didn't make the tournament. So they're not going to.
Are you sad?
They're probably not going to make it next year either.
Well, that's a vote of confidence right there. All right, moving on to the MLB. The MLB just released another proposal, 60 games in 70 days. What do you think about that? That's crazy.
It's a lot
60
of
games.
games.
That's a
I
lot of
see.
games.
I'm still super. I'm like a health. I'm really like a health pessimist when it comes to these sports coming back.
No, I've
I
noticed.
watched Arsenal play the other day. Two
Yeah.
guys got injured within like the first 30 minutes, and they
Yeah.
had to be subbed off. And I I think for baseball,
Yeah.
if you pitchers, I think this is a terrible idea. I think some I think some people could lose their careers by getting injured. Like that's how big of a deal I think it is.
Yeah, and we saw in the NBA that Jason Tatum and Donovan Mitchell, they are trying to work with the NBA to kind of have a compensation if they were to get sick or have a career-ending injury, see if they can get compensated for that. And I think the NBA is working with them to try and figure out kind of a plan. But that's definitely right. Insurance is a big thing, especially with these pitchers, curveball pitchers. They haven't been playing six
Yeah, they
innings. I
haven't been
feel
playing.
it's
I mean,
it's it's gonna be
yeah,
tough.
I
And
think
then for
it's
soccer, I mean, real life games like we talked about last podcast, there can be injuries
yeah.
arise from that.
And I think one people forget about is that so basketball, you have unlimited subs. Baseball, it's not so unlimited. I mean, you only have however many bench players you can put in, and
Yeah,
so I don't know. They might have to like
it's usually three. I think you have usually a catcher, right? Catcher to replace, and then two utility guys, and then it really depends on your
yeah, a
bullpen and
couple
how
of
many
hitters.
people you
So
want to have
I
there.
think they're gonna have to, like so what the English Premier League is doing, they can allow a total of 5 subs in a game because it used to be 3, so now it's 5 subs. But you have to when you do those 5 subs, you have to do it in three different times. You can't do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have to do like 2, 2, 1 for subs.
That is exactly that's similar to what the MLS is doing. They're offering 5 subs,
Exactly.
um, which is really good
Yeah.
because some of these guys are going to get exhausted and they won't want to get subbed out because they're used to only having 3 subs and they might overwork themselves,
Yeah. Exactly.
dehydration, and then you can just
Yeah.
pull something.
It's. I think
It's
it's
going to
a.
be
I think it's gonna be a health crisis for players.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then we have the whole COVID thing we have to be aware about. But yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. What do you think about like having fans? There's obviously not going to be any fans there. What sport do you think is going to be most affected by that? No fans, no crowd noise.
Yeah. So again, I'm going to go back. So I was watching the EPL a couple of days ago. I watched my team Arsenal, who's not playing very well this year, but they
It's okay. They
played
lost.
against. They lost 2-0. They played at Manchester City, and it was in Manchester. But there's no fans, and even the commentators are talking about how, especially in soccer, fans play such a huge role in like kind of the momentum. I guess in football too, right? But they cheer and they sing, and I think that's a huge part of what athletes play for too. They play for the fans and that environment. But when you don't have that, it can change the game. I think soccer it has a huge impact. Football, I mean, any sport where it's really loud. Maybe baseball would be kind of the least out of the biggest, sports we see in the United States. But yeah, I think it's going to have a huge impact on. There's also no home team advantage anymore without fans.
That is true. I think the only team that might not be affected is tennis, and
Yeah,
golf.
yeah. So I think we'll talk about those a little bit later. But yeah, tennis and golf are, yeah, probably not. I mean, because tennis you're supposed to be quiet until a point score. Same with golf. So I think some people even. I was watching the last weekend's Charles Schwab, or I think it was Charles Schwab tournament. Um, but some of them were saying, yeah, having fans actually helped me play better. So
Interesting.
yeah,
What
it's just totally different dynamic.
What are your thoughts about the so-called home court advantage? And let's bring in one sport, and let's do soccer.
Okay.
Let's talk about that. Let's see. Do you think that plays a big impact on how players play, and the underdog coming in and seeing a huge crowd? But now it's just going to be empty stands. There might be a few
Yeah.
personnel out there, but the noise is going to be obsolete. What do you think about that, and how do you
Yeah.
think that will play a big impact on maybe?
You've been to a Sounder game, right?
I have, yeah.
I think
I've been
you
to
went with
two.
me
I
once.
went
You went.
to the one with you, and then I went to one when they played Chelsea, and I think they lost
Oh yeah, you went to
5-0.
that game. That was a fun friendly. That's a
It
pretty
was
cool team to watch.
yeah. It was insane. It was a long time ago though, I think. It
Yeah,
was
that I think I went to that game too. That was probably 10, 15. We were little when we went to that when that
I
game.
think I was yeah. We'll have to fact check,
Yeah, we'll
but
have to fact check,
uh
but those kind of games are fun too. Bringing in like I remember I watched Messi play against the Sounders, which is really
mhm,
cool. But yeah, going back to the soccer thing. So again, soccer. If for the viewers who haven't been to a soccer game, I highly encourage it, especially the Sounders game. But fans play a huge role because there's a lot of cheering, chanting, booing for bad calls, which is really fun to be a part of. But that plays a huge role. And again, I watched this English Premier League the other day, and they said they're totally out of the routine too, because they
mhm.
can't go early to the city that they're playing in England, and like rest the day before. They had to do a little bit of workout, eat, and then drive straight to the stadium and then just warm up.
Yeah.
So it changes the routine with COVID, and um, yeah, having no fans is. I mean, it might give the away team an advantage because the home team always has an advantage no matter what because it's their locker room. They can
Mhm.
go with the routine because they're at home, right?
Yeah.
Well, this is only for England, but for any of the U.S. Tournaments or leagues, they're gonna be in a remote place. So there's no like I guess home court advantage per
Yeah, that's
se.
true.
But
That is
not
true.
having fans definitely hurts in soccer, I'd say.
I think also we might see something similar for the NBA and the WNBA.
Hmm.
I do know some players, and I like how the NBA is going straight into like a playoff scenario,
Hmm.
and that might bring more competitiveness to it because people
Yes.
want to win.
Hmm.
But it'll be interesting for the WNBA how much they're going to take this, how seriously, especially since it's going to be a limited game,
Hmm.
a limited season. Sorry,
Hmm.
um, there's a possible higher possibility of injury,
Hmm.
and why would you? I don't know. It will be interesting to see no fans. Um, and I do think being able to play basketball in high school, fans do play a huge role
Hmm.
in kind of just the atmosphere
Hmm.
and motivation,
Right.
especially in timeouts.
Hmm.
Usually the crowd gets hyped, and then
Yeah. 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 Definitely.
so I do think it will play a big impact for NBA.
Hmm.
MLB is another story. Being a Mariners fan, we know that the stadium is usually empty, or
Yeah.
half empty.
Hmm.
I do think it will be very interesting to see for playoffs because that is when everybody comes out,
Yeah.
shows the full support.
Yeah.
That is when it becomes electric,
Hmm.
um, and it'll just be interesting because now the camera angles, right, will not be shown pan up to the crowd. It'll be
Hmm.
maybe into the dugout.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, the whole preparation is definitely going to change with this, and I
Hmm.
think a lot of people are now focused on like when is it going to start, what are the financials, but we have to take
Yeah.
into account the quality of play will always be there because they're professional athletes
Hmm.
and they have the skill set, but
Right.
maybe the motivation might not be there, maybe the conditioning might not be there.
Yeah.
There's these things we have to take into account,
Hmm.
and then also the family thing. People, like we said, the MLS, or was it the MLS? Yeah, MLS. 45 days in a hotel,
Hmm.
you can't see your family.
Yeah.
It can take a toll, and we'll see what happens. We will, because the NFL season is coming up, and that is a
Hmm.
16-week season.
Yeah.
Um, and if they have to do any sort of quarantining, we might see a lot of people skip out this season and just be with their families. And I would totally respect that
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, this is just about entertainment, and family becomes the most important thing, especially in a
Mhm.
pandemic. Um,
I
but
like
yeah,
what you said there. You said this is mostly for entertainment, and I think you're so right. I
mhm,
think a lot of the I've just been reading on social media because I have so much time, and I read the comments, and there's just so many hateful comments on like why the league isn't started. Like, why do you not want to play? It's like if you were a player, I mean, those guys that are playing for us on TV, they're just normal people. They're humans too. So I think people forget like they have things to do outside of sports, right? And I think people forget that, and all these comments on social media, like just put yourself in those shoes. Like, would you? Is basketball really your whole life? Is soccer your really whole life? You have kids, you have a wife. I don't know. You might have another business you're trying to start. I don't know. Like, I think people forget that, and it's important to be patient
yeah,
because we're. I mean, if we weren't in a pandemic, this would be a lot better and quicker. I guarantee that, but just circumstances are so different. It's the first time all these commissioners have dealt with this. You know,
Exactly.
this is
And
a good learning lesson, though.
it's definitely something that we haven't seen before. So that is why it is taking so long.
Yeah.
Yeah. Players should get paid. I'm an advocate for players getting paid the
Mm-hmm.
full 100% because this
Mm-hmm.
is definitely about them, and they're risking their bodies
Mm-hmm.
and their time
Mm-hmm.
with especially with COVID.
Mm-hmm.
But we will see what happens. I think it will be. I am hopeful that there will be sports being played, and as we've said, there are going to be the leagues will start up, and maybe that will be a sense of normalcy, return
Mm-hmm.
to sort of a
Mm-hmm.
normal structure. But yeah, should we get into? I wanted to talk about Chuba Chuba Hubbard and
Yes.
Mike Gundy and the whole Oklahoma State situation.
Mm-hmm.
If people are people don't already know, I believe it was Monday. Was it this last Monday?
It was
Uh,
it was very recent. Yeah.
very recently. Mike Gundy, the head coach of Oklahoma State, he was photographed with a very conservative radio station that hasn't supported the BLM. He was photographed with a picture of him wearing one of their logos, and the star running back Chuba Hubbard for Oklahoma State called him out on Twitter, and I believe rightfully so. And this kind of sparked
Mm-hmm.
a whole discussion of just like um, people having opinions on
Mm-hmm.
like can he support anything he wants, and then with everything going on, was that the right thing to do, or did that look tone deaf? And then there was other people saying, is Chuba Hubbard in the right for this, or should he just play football and not worry about that? I have a lot of I have a huge opinion on this, but I'll let you go first. And what is your take about it?
I think, well, I'll let you get into your argument, or not your argument, but the discussion. But I just want to give some context on what the
Yeah, of
radio
course.
show was, because I think some people don't realize how this is like this is like not even, it's past right. There's like, it's, you know, and like, it's called One American News, but I mean, they support Trump, which is fine. And the problem is that they're like, one of the things they recently announced was like they think the BLM movement is a farce. Like they think it's just dumb. That's hurtful, and I totally disagree with that. Another thing that I read was that the OAN started a theory. So did you see the video of the guy, the old man who protested in Buffalo and got pushed over by the police officer? So they started a theory that the guy was a member of Antifa, and that was part of a setup scene. That was like
Mm.
just like a video created for um, Antifa and try to spark this outrage. But that guy, I mean, fractured his skull. He's like, I think he might not be
Hmm.
able to walk. I read. So I think that's why would you even like say that? And I read that Trump kind of like raised that theory. I don't know how accurate that is, but like even then, like why would people support that? And then for people to go out and attack Hubbard for saying that he should not be criticizing Gundy because Gundy has like freedom of speech to like share his beliefs, like that's not how it works. And that's I'll let you go now, but that's kind of my first take.
Oh yeah, basically you hit everything I was gonna say. I just wanted to bring to light how controversial this is. Just because this Chuba Hubbard announced that he is not gonna play for Mike Gundy or Oklahoma State, and this player is a star. He has the best odds to win the Heisman. So this guy is an integral part in Oklahoma State's offense, and a lot of people are saying he is out. He is not in the he's in the wrong for this. But I would argue that you have to keep people accountable. I mean, coaches keep players accountable every time. And what's the difference if a player can't hold their own coach accountable? And then we talked about last time, organizational culture. If this is what if this is what the coach is bringing in and supporting a radio station that doesn't even support the majority of his players, like how is that? What does that show? And I don't know. I also wanted to say that it doesn't even matter that Chuba Hubbard is the biggest star, probably the best running back in the game in college football. It doesn't matter. I think any player can call him out. Any player can call out the coach. Um, it starts with one player, and I think this will have a big effect on college football and hopefully the whole entire sports world, because players, and I know Kyrie Irving and other advocates are speaking up, and I think that's great. But I think we haven't seen that in the college world right now, and I love to see it. I love college players speaking up and promoting what they believe in.
Mhm.
Last thing, I just yeah, I don't know. We saw Tuesday. Um, Chuba Hubbard and Mike Gundy kind of came to a resolution. Mike Gundy apologized and said it was tone deaf, and Hubbard accepted the apology but said that change still needs to happen. So I'm glad they came to a resolution, but I still think he should keep on fighting for what he believes in. And
Mhm.
I think he is in the right for sitting out a year and probably protesting it if he doesn't see change in Oklahoma State's organization.
Yeah, I agree. I think Hubbard is going to be remembered for one of the people to call out his college coach, and I wouldn't be surprised if more of this happens. Right? We've seen this trend just throughout history of when one person whistleblows in a certain organization, it's going to happen across all levels, and it needs to.
Yes,
Right? We need to hold people
exactly.
accountable, and I think people forget that. And he's like, "Yeah, why did Hubbard go to social media and do this? He should have just gone to him in person." Like, if your CEO was doing something wrong that you didn't like and you were like a associate position, are you going to go walk up to his office and tell him? No. There's so many things at risk here. Like Hubbard could have been, I don't know, maybe Gundy wouldn't play him, or maybe he would have lost a scholarship, or maybe he would have been forced to transfer. He's only 21. People forget like this human aspect of this, right? And again, maybe those people are racist and just calling him out just because of that, but like, you can just go up to Steve Jobs, rest in peace, Steve Jobs, but like go up to Bill Gates or Steve Jobs and tell him that, oh, I want more money. You're not paying me enough. Like, you're not going to go do that. Why would Hubbard do this in
Yeah,
Gundy's situation? And it's
yeah,
important that he did go to social media so people are aware of it, you know,
exactly,
because
exactly,
he does have
exactly.
this platform. And I think it's important that his teammates know that and future prospects know that if you want to live, if you want to play at a college that supports you, don't go to Oklahoma State. And I think this is going to haunt Oklahoma State forever. I'm surprised Gundy's not even fired yet.
Yeah, I agree. It's in a time where the like things like this have retrospectual have a bigger effect in the future,
Yeah.
and only time will tell what happens. I think it is an interesting thing, and we should definitely keep a lookout and see what happens, because I will
Mm-hmm.
be interested. um yeah, should we move on to the next segment?
Yes. Yeah. So our next segment, we wanted to talk about technology in
Technology.
sports. So one of the reasons why we don't talk about this. So for those of you who are soccer fans like me, I was watching the first game of the English Premier League return Wednesday. It was Sheffield United versus Aston Villa. And I'll pull up the picture. I think Drew's seen it, but I want to show all the people watching just so they know what I'm talking
Yeah, it
about.
was definitely an interesting.
Are you seeing
Yeah,
it?
yes, I am.
Okay, so you see the goalie who has the ball. I think it's pretty clear. So in soccer, the ball has to the whole ball has to cross the line. It can't just be a part of it. So it looks like the goalie has the ball in his hands, and it looks like it's in the goal. And you can see the guys in the white shirt. They're already celebrating. Or number 12 is right there. But the referee hasn't called it yet. And so one of the reasons why we wanted to talk about sports with technologies. So a lot of soccer leagues have this thing called goal line technology, where there's 7 cameras, and it can. So the referee's wearing like an Apple Watch or some kind of watch, and it'll beep when the ball's crossed the line. But in this case, the cameras couldn't read it because there are like so many things going on, like the way the goalie was positioned, the defender was right in front of them, so it didn't say it was a goal. And later, the company that's doing it, I forgot what it was called. but they have been doing goal line technology for a bunch of different soccer leagues. They apologized to Sheffield United for not counting the goal because
Oh
the game
wow.
ended up 0-0.
Oh
So
my gosh.
they didn't change the score after or anything. And people are blaming the referee, but I mean, the referee's so used to using that, relying on that watch to know if it's a goal or not. They might
Hmm.
not be looking at it. So that's kind of one of the controversies. I don't know if you wanted to add more on that.
Yeah. I mean, that's a huge thing, especially since the game ended 0-0.
Yeah, exactly.
What does that mean for the playoff hopes, you know? That's a huge thing taken away, and
It's a good
especially in
thing you
soccer.
talk about that because Sheffield United is sixth place of the English Premier League, and if you're in the top six, you can qualify for like certain European tournaments and stuff. So it has a huge impact on where they could be at the end of the season, and
Exactly, yeah.
they're definitely angry about it. But there's also this
So,
other thing called video assistant referee,
okay.
VAR. So that's like the review system that MLB has, the NFL has, and again, it has those restrictions. Like it can't be for every play and whatever. Just like every league has restrictions on it. But the interesting thing was that they didn't go to VAR to check it.
Okay, that
They
isn't,
just so
yeah.
that's the other controversy. So there's two kind of they had two ways to check this thing, but none of
Eh,
them
So
worked.
yeah, it does seem like I feel bad. Yeah, the team, especially in soccer, where it's you don't really get as many chances to
No,
score.
not at all. Yeah,
Um, that's definitely interesting, and I wonder. And they even admitted that they missed it, and they're not going to do anything about that.
yeah.
Um, virtual referee assistance is it's interesting because we rely so much on it, and it's sometimes for the better. It's for sometimes for the better.
No,
Um,
yeah,
I know for
agree.
one time in baseball, uh, Detroit had a
Yeah, I
perfect
took
game.
notes on that. I took
You know,
notes on
you
that
took
game.
notes on that one.
Yeah.
And that is definitely when virtual or when technology can come in and be helpful. And obviously he was out, but we take it so. What am I trying to say? We now rely on it so much that sometimes we don't even referees are becoming obsolete. And I
Hmm.
know MLB there's always been discussion about maybe a virtual strike zone
Hmm.
and what that might do to the game. You
Hmm.
know, I personally don't think it needs to go that far, but
Hmm.
I am happy that they implemented a review process for the MLB.
Yeah.
Even though it does take a while, I do think at the end of the day the game should be played right. And if
Hmm.
if there was a goal that somebody scored, you should definitely take that. And it or a perfect game, like you,
Hmm.
there's perfect games only happen so often.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, so I don't think it should go fully into virtual strike zone just
Hmm.
because I don't know. What do you think about that? I feel like that can be talking about cheating in baseball. I feel like that can definitely be like manipulated.
Yeah. I mean,
You know, it's
that's a good. I don't really think about that aspect, but I mean, I'm on the same page with you. Like as a catcher, I've practiced, framing and making sure I present the ball well. But I mean, the whole art of that would be lost if there's a
exactly,
electronic strike zone. It's interesting. So
exactly.
they were supposed to test it this year in some minor league stadiums, but that's not happening. Obviously, there's no games. But I guess what
Yeah.
happens is the umpire would wear an earpiece, and then he would be told whether it's a ball or strike, and then he would say ball or strike.
So I do think it would actually be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any friends that are umpires, but I think it might be helpful for them because now it takes away the whole you can't argue balls and strikes, you know?
Yeah, but I
And
mean
you can't you can't
that's a
argue
fun
balls and
part
strikes.
of it, isn't it? Isn't that a fun part of it? I mean, you get
It
automatically
is.
get tossed, right? I think that's the new rule,
Yeah,
but
you can't argue balls and strikes, but still, it takes away some of the referees, like I don't know, or the umpire. Sorry, the umpire's ability to kind of
yeah,
ruin the
like they don't
game.
need
And
to
is
be yeah, they lost the art of calling balls and strikes, which is also something really hard. And I think sometimes people forget how hard it is, and we should also appreciate like
hmm
the work they like calling a ball. You, I think people forget you can't see it in front of you because the catcher's in front of you, so you're
and it's
guessing where the ball ends up on
and
a
some of these are
95 mile per hour fastball or a Clayton Kershaw curveball.
Yeah, exactly. Or
Um,
the slider,
yeah,
Dylan Potence's slider. It's just like
yeah,
the movement on it is crazy. And for me, I think virtual batting zone has its limitations more than its upside. I
yeah.
do
So I
think it would
think,
be nice because it's quick, but I do think it would get manipulated. And maybe what if it just
yeah,
doesn't work? Like, what if there's a game? What if?
yeah, just like the soccer example. This is the
Mhm.
first time in 9,000 matches, I think they said, that it hasn't worked. 9,000. And who knows, this could be the World Series Game 7. And
Yeah,
yeah, if it doesn't work for one pitch, what are they going to do? Oh, sorry, the
exactly.
camera didn't get it. Repitch, like,
Yeah, exactly.
right?
And then you put the blame on the umpire, and it's like, okay, it didn't register. What was that call? But the
Yeah,
umpire now, after so many
yeah,
games, is so used to just getting that earpiece. Maybe he forgot it, and it's not going to be on him for
yeah.
okay.
But what happens
I'm
if you
not
couldn't
as
hear
crisp.
it for one pitch? Like, what
Exactly.
happens? They're gonna pause the game. Yeah, that's okay. That's another issue of it.
I just think it might, like you said, it you lose the art
Hmm.
in a sense of
I think
framing the pitch
maybe
for
what could
catchers
be cool
and
is
then
like,
for umpires.
I think what could be cool is maybe you could review like one pitch a game or something. Do you remember that? I'm gonna fact check this, but do you remember
Okay, yeah,
the
fact check it.
strikeout that Joe Nathan had against Ben Zobrist? I don't.
No.
So um, I'm gonna screen share this because this is like a really um,
So when did it happen?
so this happened. Sorry, I need to mute this. This happened 2013.
Okay.
This was Joe Nathan, who's like a pretty famous closer. Watch this
Yeah.
pitch. That's a strike.
Oh wow. So that was off to the right,
Not
pretty
even close.
low.
It was about to bounce.
Yeah. It looked definitely like a ball, and
Yeah,
that ended the game.
yeah. And that was his
Texas ended up
300th.
winning 5-4 against
That was his
Tampa Bay.
300th save for Joe Nathan.
Oh, congratulations. Nice.
But
Wait, what was this for, like any playoffs, or was this a regular game?
I think this is 4-8. So this is a regular game.
Okay, but it was
But
just
imagine
okay.
if that was the World Series.
Exactly.
You're going to end the call, or I mean, or
But
Armando Galarga's perfect game that was not a perfect game.
yes, I didn't want to say his name because I think I was definitely going to butcher
Yeah,
it. So I'm happy you said it.
but like the other thing, like the reason why soccer brought the goal line technology in was there was this famous shot in the 2010 World Cup where Frank Lampard, who's an England and Chelsea legend, he hit the crossbar and it bounced in the goal, and the
Mhm.
goalie grabbed it and made it look like it didn't, and that could have changed, and that was a playoff game. I mean, not that was like a bracket game. They were like in the round of 16, so that had some major implications. So that's why, that's why technology is good. But again, there could be
Yeah,
issues with
and
it.
I mean, I think technology, a good example of technology possibly being for the better is the XFL, um, which is now suspended due to COVID. But they had a technology or a tracking device called the Hawkeye, which went over the stadium, and every play that was reviewed, it had like 8 or 10 angles. They weren't
Mm-hmm.
reliant on broadcasting, um, and it was
Hmm.
it was super quick, super fast. And I think you might see that in the NFL
Hmm.
because it was such new technology,
Hmm.
and it I think it worked. I liked it. I like to see that there was the review process
Hmm.
and I was in there. I could
Hmm.
see what they're reviewing. I think that's really cool, and that kind of brings away some of the, oh, what is the referee scene? Oh, how is that a call? What, I saw that, but I just think it will give sort of fans another aspect of the game. The Hawkeye technology that the XFL was implementing last year, or their last prior season. So technology can be good, but for such drastic measures like the baseball virtual strike zone, I don't think it's needed.
Yeah.
Just because there is so much, I believe there's higher chances of error when you
Hmm.
implement that big of technology in the
Hmm.
game. But time will tell. Time will definitely tell. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's see. Oh, I guess that kind of leads into one other thing I reminded me of. So you know how
Yeah.
NFL referees they explain what they like looked at and they explain the ruling. There's not a whole lot of that in other sports. I was wondering if that's a good thing or a bad thing. What do you think?
Yeah, I know for college basketball, especially when it's like, oh, is that shot clock violation, or and they review that because now they can review that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Usually the referee just goes into the sports commentators and just tells them and doesn't tell the fans. I think it is kind of frustrating that we didn't hear his explanation,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know. I'm not opposed for it. I think I'm just so used to not hearing it and then
Mm-hmm.
going on with the game.
Mm-hmm.
I think it might slow down the game a little bit more,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't mind if they implement it or don't implement it.
Yeah.
For the NFL, I do think they need to explain it
Mm-hmm.
because you have the yard line,
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
have like what player it was,
Right.
and people actually take notes on that and there's statistics around that.
Mm-hmm.
For for college basketball and for the NBA, you don't have a lot of that going into it. You might have a technical, and then
Mm-hmm.
they would show you that. They wouldn't announce it. You kind of just have to do that versus language,
Mm-hmm.
or see his hand signals
Yeah.
or her hand signals.
Right.
I don't think it's that big of a deal. I do think maybe. Well, what do they do that for? What is soccer like?
So I was going to talk about, yeah, how so soccer and baseball, they don't really tell you what the
Mhm.
ruling is, which is kind of annoying sometimes because you have to guess or the commentator is guessing, but you really want to know the real answer, right?
Yeah,
But soccer, they don't say anything really after like a video assisted referee. They just go on and play, and yeah, they
it is.
don't, you don't know, which is kind of annoying. Same
Yeah,
with basketball too, right? The commentator knows, but if you're there live, you have no idea, right?
yeah.
Hmm.
I think we're just nitpicking at this point.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's an interesting topic though.
It is. I do think. What do you? So, this is the first time that the Apple Watch didn't work or malfunctioned,
Hmm.
right? I don't know how you can fully proof that to where it's 100% accurate. I think at this point you just need to maybe they just need to have more places inputted, like, okay, that was definitely a goal.
Yeah,
Let's
I
go check
mean,
it. Or maybe he has somebody in his back of the ears saying, okay, you have to check this. Go
yeah,
use
I
it.
think that was just the thing. Like they didn't tell the referee to check it because that was so clear and obvious, and like that's one of the standards. Like if it's
Well,
so clear and obvious error, you can review it.
whose responsibility is to tell the referee that? Is it the players or
Upstairs, there's a video
okay.
person, or not
Okay.
upstairs, but there's someone on the video, like in New York and MLB.
Okay.
But I don't know. They haven't really explained from that standpoint what happened there.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. That goal seemed pretty obvious to me.
Well, it looked obvious. He definitely was in the goal.
Yeah, but you could tell by the players' reactions too. Like the Aston
Yeah.
Villa players and the goalie, he just kind of stood there and then he realized nothing happened. Then he
You
walked out of the goal. So it's like,
you know who this affected probably more than just the regular fan was betting, right? Like, what if somebody
yeah,
had the one
yeah,
over line? I don't know.
yeah. You never know. Like, I
But
mean,
then you can also say that for the NFL or for VR, like the whole betting community will be it's just a whole. When you change something so big like that,
Mhm.
there's definitely going to be some things that you need to fix, and like there'll be outbursts, and
Yeah.
yeah. But
Yeah.
I think that will end this week's podcast, or two podcasts in 1 week. Who knew not having sports had so much sports news?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, we will see you guys back on Wednesday. Hope everybody's staying safe and enjoy the weather. Shoots.